Hello, welcome back to episode 27. This week we're discussing ultra processed foods, Joe Wicks, Courtney Black, and why you wouldn't let your hairdresser perform brain surgery. So don't take nutrition advice from fitness influencers. So let's get straight to it. So firstly, this is the week that Joe Wicks came out and was speaking about his protein bar and really trying to highlight the horrific ingredients in this ultra processed food. Now, maybe Joe has got a short memory, but I don't. And I remember him advertising protein bars for my protein. And something that I always encourage my clients to do is really think critically. Think critically about anything that I say. Think critically about anything that anyone says. Run it through the lens of, does this actually make sense? We're in a really strange time when people with six packs and ring lights feel qualified to give expertise, advice, guidance, however you want to say it, on food science or relationship with food coaching. And that is a real dangerous place to be, because when you become a nutritionist or a dietitian, one thing that you're taught is to read evidence, think critically, and then be able to communicate that to masses of people. So one thing that you understand is that nutrition is nuanced and that it largely comes down to dose. Joe has come out and said that protein bars cause cancer. Firstly, that is categorically wrong. That is fear-mongering. You are sat in a place of food fear, food anxiety, worrying about what you're eating, worrying about eating a protein bar just in case you get cancer. This is now impacting your mental health. So in the pursuit of improving your physical health, your mental health is being impacted. Courtney Black shares her experience of her struggles with food so that people can relate to them. But if you listen to her, you can really see a theme of idolising leanness, idolising thinness, and that isn't helpful when we can't be objective. When we make sweeping statements about nutrition, when we make sweeping statements about women's health, when there is so much nuance to it. My advice is we would never ask our hairdresser to perform brain surgery because they're not qualified to do so. Fitness influencers like Courtney Black, Joe Wicks, they are not qualified to give nutrition advice, and they are not qualified to support and help people with their relationship with food. So when they come out and they make these bold statements with their huge platforms, they are doing it for attention, sensationalism, to grab viewers' attention, to sell their book, their program, whatever it is that they've got going on at that moment in time. But this is now getting to a stage where it's dangerous. Saying that protein bars cause cancer is going to strike fear into some people. You can't just say that when the evidence doesn't actually show that. That's really poor use of your platform. So now what I want to discuss is ultra processed foods and where we actually sit with it. And what I so often say to my clients is we need to take a perspective of educated understanding, but let's be mindful and not fearful. I want you to think of processed foods on a spectrum. So down one end, we would have an apple, and down the other end, we would have an apple flavoured cereal bar. Of course, the more we can include whole foods into our food choices, the more vitamins, the more minerals that we're going to get. But instead of seeing these foods as good and bad, I want you to look at your food choices and think, are processed or ultra processed foods, are they the foundation or are they the filler? Okay, are they the foundation or are they the filler? Because the reality of it is, in this modern life that we live, most foods are processed. If something's in a can, it's been processed. If something has a wrapper, it's been processed. If something has a long shelf life, it's been processed. This is on a spectrum. And where we want to be is that most of the time, our diet consists of whole foods, but there are going to be a time when ultra processed foods can have value. We're talking about things like protein bars. Fortified cereal, you can get iron, B vitamins from those. We can't call things bad foods. We need to look at the context. The thing about ultra processed foods is that dose actually matters. And we can't just look at one thing and say, is this healthy or is this not healthy? The determining factors of us living in a healthy body is going to be wider than that. So it's going to be, okay, most of the time, are we eating a diet that consists of mostly whole foods with some processed or ultra processed foods? How's our sleep? How's our energy levels? How are we managing our stress? What's our relationship with food like? Are we super anxious? Are we super stressed? Are we super fearful? How much movement do we do? Do we live inside a sedentary body, or are we active in getting outside and moving each day? Health is multifaceted. It does not come down to one single thing. It's a multitude of things that feed in. Now, the best way that I would love you to consider this, if that comment from Joe Wicks or Courtney Black's comments really strike fear into you, is to look at your food choices. What am I doing most of the time? And is what I'm doing helpful or harmful? Okay, so if you are using ultra processed foods or highly processed foods as a filler because they're convenient, and sometimes it is the healthy choice, maybe that frozen meal that's packed with fiber has 2 of your 5 a day and high in protein, it is ultra processed, but that's absolutely adding value. I would love for you to look at your food choices and really ask yourself, helpful for me? Well, yeah, because it meant I had extra protein, I had more fiber, I had more of my 5 a day. It's not harmful for me in that instance. Now, let's take it to the other side. If most of the time the foundation of my foods is that they're ultra processed foods, so let's say I am living on protein bars, I'm living on protein yogurts, I'm living on takeaways, I'm living on frozen meals, then that is likely over time to have a detrimental impact to my health. The key thing is actually the people that tend to have lower nutritional choices tend not to be such health-seeking individuals. So they tend to live in more sedentary bodies. They tend to perhaps not look after their stress and their sleep as much. When Joe is talking about protein bars causing cancer, he's talking about a bucket of lifestyle choices that feed into having a higher chance of developing disease over a longer term. That doesn't just come down to having an occasional protein bar. That comes down to total lifestyle choices over a long period of time. So if what you're doing most of the time isn't harmful to you and actually it's helpful, if the foundation of your foods are whole foods and the filler is that you're using ultra processed foods, if you are managing your stress, if you are managing your sleep, if you have no indicators from your body that anything is wrong and you feel perfectly fine and your energy levels are good, then there is no harm in ultra processed foods, and they are not to be feared. We just want to be mindful of our consumption with them. And that message is so unsexy, it doesn't sell on social media. It's really unsexy for me to say, actually guys, everything's okay in moderation. Most of the time do this, but occasionally this is fine too. That message isn't sensational. That message doesn't grab headlines. That message doesn't have hordes of people watching my YouTube or driving to my Instagram page. But it is actually the truth. It's the truth. 2 things that I really want to leave you with is we are in a time of heightened disordered eating. Joe Wicks coming out and saying that about protein bar just exacerbates people's food anxiety. There is so much misinformation. It's so hard for people to get a clear message around nutrition. And the people that shout the loudest and have the biggest platforms, they're always the people that are shouting about the extremes. But ideally where we want to live is not at either extremes. We don't want to never eat any ultra processed foods and live in fear of them, but we equally don't want our diet to be absolutely stuffed with ultra processed food and we never eat any whole foods. We want to find that middle space where the biofeedback from our body is that our body is happy, that we're living inside a healthy body, that most of the time we're eating whole foods, but occasionally in ultra processed foods really isn't a problem and we're not living in fear about it. And this week, what I would really love for you to do is I'd love for you to bird's eye view on your food choices. I'd love for you to just sit and consider and go through the week and raise your level of awareness and think, what am I doing most of the time? Most of the time, am I picking colourful foods? Are my foods high protein? Are my foods high in fibre? Are my energy levels good? Do I have good sleep? Am I managing my stress the best that I can? Do I make sure that I drink some water every day and I try and get out for a walk? If the answer is yes to those questions, then you are doing absolutely fine. So please, please, please do that this week. And if you're not in that space, reach out to me or work towards getting into that space. But please do not let your mental health suffer at the cost of your physical health, because you are just trading one set of issues for another. I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's cleared it up. If you've got any questions at all, please contact me. You can find me on Instagram at Kelly Nutrition Coach. Please reach out. Don't sit in fear about certain foods. Don't sit worrying about eating things. Really bird's eye view and think, you know what am I doing most of the time? Most of the time, am I doing things that are actually helpful to me and I feel healthy? Or am I in a place where things feel a little bit harmful?